Sakafet YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. Let's cook with me from start to finish. Hello my darlings, it's so nice to have you back here in my kitchen for yet another amazing recipe. Someone sponsored this video and asked me to cook this meal from start to finish, so here goes. Over here I've got my chicken drumsticks and I've already cleaned it with lemon juice and vinegar, and I'm gonna season lightly with a little bit of oil, some salt, all-purpose seasoning, curry powder, and then I'm gonna go in with some sazon. I really love the flavor of the sazon, hence the reason why I love using it in my cooking. I actually got it from the Caribbean when I was in St. Lucia last week. And yes darling, so now I'm gonna go in with my green seasoning, which is a blend of fresh parsley and spring onions and thyme and all that good stuff, and I'm gonna add in some black pepper and go ahead and add some paprika as well, and then I'm gonna mix that in well. Okay, I'm gonna be seasoning this and leaving it to marinate overnight in my fridge. Yes my darlings, if you don't have much time, give it a couple of minutes before stewing it. I guarantee you the flavor will be so much more amazing. So once I popped my chicken in the fridge to marinate overnight, over here I've got another pot and I'm going in with some pink beans. I'm putting about half a cup to 3/4 cup of pink beans. I love pink beans. Well, in St. Lucia we used to have it so much, and this is what the pack looks like. I wanted to show you guys. I love it. Honestly, that's like one of my top 3 beans to have. Then I'm gonna go in with a cup of water and give it a good rinse. Okay, make sure to give it a good rinse. Throw that water out, and then I'm gonna add about 2 cups of water and let it soak overnight. Now this is optional. It's just my own little way of prepping things overnight, you know, that way when I start cooking the following day it's so much easier. And this soaking also helps to soften the beans as well. But yes, it's the next day and we are gonna jump straight into it. This is my chicken. It's looking and smelling so good. Yes darlings, my rule is whatever will take the longest to cook, you always cook it first. In this case it's the beans. It usually takes about an hour and a bit to soften. So as you can see, it's soaked overnight. I'm gonna go ahead and throw out that water. That will just eliminate all the gas that beans usually gives you when you eat it. So yes, throw that water out, put some fresh water in, let that boil on low for about an hour with no seasonings. Okay. In a pot, I went in with my oil and I'm going to go in with some brown sugar and allow that to caramelize for about 5 minutes on about a medium to a high heat. Okay, you'll see the sugar will start to melt and it's going to start to brown. Don't let it get black. A nice dark brown color is what you're after. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and add in that seasoned chicken. As you can see guys, this is already looking so good. But yes, add the chicken in, cover it up for about 2 minutes. Don't stir it up yet, and then we'll come back and stir it in about 2 minutes. So after about 2 minutes, I went in to stir up my chicken, and oh my goodness, as you can see, it's got some beautiful color underneath. And if you don't know how to do this method, or you're unsure of this method, you can always use the browning in the bottle. But I can assure you, for a more authentic Caribbean flavor, burning that sugar will get you this golden juicy looking piece of chicken. And imagine, this is not even cooked yet and it looks so good. Cover it up for another 5 minutes or so. It's gonna spring up some juices, and I'm gonna just show you. Honestly, you don't have to check the pot so many times, but I'm just showing you just for the purpose of the video. Okay, so after about 5 minutes, you're gonna go ahead and stir it up again. It's looking absolutely beautiful. Now the goal is for the chicken pieces to get some beautiful brown color and for some of that liquid to dry up, okay, because we really want to have some intense stew flavor going on in that chicken. Okay, so stir it up one more time, cover it up, and the next time I open it up, I'm gonna go in and add in some ketchup and other bits. Okay, so now onto the mashed potatoes. While the peas is cooking and the chicken is cooking, I'm now just gonna go ahead and peel my Irish potatoes. Now I didn't want to skip through that because I know some of you still want to see how I do every single thing. So yes, I have a potato peeler, but I'm using the knife the old-fashioned way, and I'm just gonna peel it and cut the potatoes into 4. Once everything is all peeled and chopped up, I'm gonna go ahead and wash it out, give it a good rinse, and add about 3 cups of water and a bit of salt, and boil my potatoes until it's nice and soft. So now that my beans, my chicken, and my potato is cooking, last but not least, we have the carrots. And I'm using these 3 carrots today. I'm going to go ahead and use my peeler, and I'm just going to go ahead and peel those carrots. Okay, very simple to do. I know, again, I don't want to just run through the video because I know some of you find watching me cooking so therapeutic. So enjoy the video. So now that my carrots have been cleaned, I washed it off with some cool water and drained it. And then now I'm gonna go in with some of my Spice Jamaica all-purpose seasoning. I love this all-purpose seasoning. You can use whichever one you have, but yes, this one is my go-to. I've been rocking the Spice Jamaica for so long, and I love these seasonings. I also go in with some basil. Is it basil or basil, or how do you say it? And I'm gonna go in with some butter, cover that up, and I'm gonna let it steam on low heat for about 5 minutes. I love my carrots with a bit of crunch, so I don't like to leave it for too long. But yes, darlings, now to check on our chicken. As you can see, most of that liquid has dried up, and this is what I'm after. I'm now gonna go in with a bit of tomato ketchup, and I'm gonna add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of that in there. And using the same bowl that the chicken was seasoned in, I went in with about 3 cups of water, and I'm gonna add that in, as well as 1 scotch bonnet pepper, and let that chicken cook down for about 40 minutes. Okay, you don't really want to stir it much, just let it cook down for about 30 to 40 minutes. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you my setup. Got my chicken cooking away, got my peas cooking away, got my carrots look on that side, and oh my goodness, it's pretty much just steaming down in that butter. And guys, it's so tasty. And then I've also got my potatoes cooking on the other side. This is literally how I keep my food warm. I don't actually cook one thing and store it in the oven. I literally cook everything at once, starting with whatever will take the longest to cook. So I actually put the peas to cook, then I went for the chicken, I went for the potatoes, and then I went for the carrots. By the time everything is done, everything will still be nice and hot. And yes, darlings, as you can see, my carrots are nearly done. I'll give it another 2 minutes. Over here, my potatoes have been cooked. It's been about 20 minutes. So I'm gonna drain it off, and then I'm gonna go ahead and mash it using this potato masher. I'll also add in some of my double cream, some butter, and you just want to mix it in until it's nice and smooth to your own preference. Usually I use a hand whisk, but I don't have that much potatoes today, so I'm deciding to mash this by hand. The arm workout is definitely giving. But yes, so all measurements will be down below, of course. But yes, darlings, once this is mixed in, we'll have some fluffy and smooth, delicious mashed potatoes. So time to check on my beans. It's been cooking for the past 1 hour and 15 minutes. And yes, darlings, as you can see, I'm just going to squeeze one of them just to show you that it's nice and soft. Actually cook it with no seasonings in, because my granny said it helps to cook quicker when you don't cook it with anything. Okay, so now to season it up, I'm going to drain it off into another pan, and then use the same pan that it was cooking in. Add some oil, go in with some green seasoning. That green seasoning is so fresh and delicious. I also add in some all-purpose seasoning, as well as some sazon. You can add black pepper, you can add curry powder. Just put a whole bunch of seasonings in there, okay? And because I'm using the all-purpose seasoning and the sazon, I'm a bit weary of salt, because both of these things already have a little bit of salt in there, okay? So you can always adjust, taste it, see how you like it. But yes, fry the green seasoning in all of that delicious seasonings that we added. Then you want to go in and add your peas back in. Guys, the flavor when you do this is absolutely intense. Like, you cannot go wrong when you make your peas that way, okay? So go ahead and stir it up. Give it another 5 to 10 minutes just to absorb all of that flavor into the peas. Keep your heat on low, and guys, this will be dinner all done. At this point, my chicken is pretty much cooked. We have some delicious gravy, and as you can see here, it's reduced quite a bit. Go ahead and remove the pepper at this point. The chicken is not spicy at all because my pepper stayed intact, but I'm gonna go ahead and garnish with some freshly chopped parsley. You know, whenever I pull out that parsley that means I am done. Guys, this recipe is just so simple, and this cook with me on this beautiful Sunday afternoon is everything. There we have it. Our stewed chicken is all done. Our peas is cooked down nicely. Oh my goodness, as you can see, even the gravy has thickened up a bit. I don't like my peas to be too saucy, so hence the reason why we don't have too much sauce going on. However, if you like your sauce, go in and add some more water, but for me, I prefer it like that. And as you can see, my mashed potatoes is also ready. Nice, creamy, delicious. I've also got my steamed down carrots looking absolutely gorgeous. And this is today's spread. Took me an hour and 15 minutes to put this on the table, and I can assure you we were all happy and satisfied. No leftovers, and this is the final plate. Thank you so much for watching, and it's been a pleasure having you here in my Cook With Me session today. Bye! Let's cook with me from start to finish. Oh my darlings, it's so nice to have you back here in my kitchen for yet another cook with me video. So we're gonna start straight into seasoning our chicken. I'm gonna be making some baked chicken, starting off with my chicken. Of course, it's cleaned with lemon juice and vinegar and cold water, and I went in with some oil, a little bit of salt, some basil. I'm gonna go in with some all-purpose seasoning. I'll add some garlic powder and some paprika, and yes my darlings, I'm gonna go ahead and give that a good mix, and then we want to set it aside to marinate. I don't have much time today, so I'm only going to give it about 10-15 minutes before popping it into the oven. I'm going to be baking these for about 45 minutes on 200 degrees Celsius. But guys, look at how amazing it's looking once it's seasoned. It already looks so good. So once my chicken had been resting, I did go ahead and put it into a baking tray and bake it for about 45 to 50 minutes on 200 degrees Celsius. And we're gonna jump straight into making our rice. So for my rice, I'm gonna be using the sweet pointed peppers as well as some onions as well. Go ahead and peel it, chop it up, and then we're gonna wash everything, of course. Once everything is peeled and chopped, it should look something like this. No fancy way of chopping it. You just want to get it to fit into your food processor. And I'm using my mini chopper today. I'm gonna go ahead and just blend that up until we have a nice chunky pepper sauce. You can go ahead and add some chili peppers to this if you want to, but I've got kids and they don't really like too much spice. Go ahead and blend it up, and once you have a nice red pepper sauce, add in some tomato puree, which is going to give it that nice rich red color. And yes darlings, blend it up until it's nice and smooth, and then we're gonna go cook it up. This is my pepper sauce all done. So to a pot, I went in with some oil, about 1/4 cup of oil, and we want to fry some onions. I did forget to mention that you need to chop up 1 onion on the side separately. So yes, you don't have to do this, but yes, it gives the oil some really nice flavor. And then I'm gonna also put in some of the tomato puree just to fry up with the onions. This is also optional as I already put some into the pepper sauce, but I just find it gives it such a nice flavor, and it's just something that I like to do personally. And yes darlings, fry that in the oil for about 10 minutes on a low heat, and once it's nicely fried, you want to go in with your blended pepper mix, which you're going to let it cook down for about 15 minutes until the oil starts to settle on the top. So to season it up, I'm going to go in with some salt. I'll also go in with some Knorr cubes. This is a favorite, but if you don't have that one, you can just add in some regular cubes or you can add in some all-purpose seasoning. I'll also add some curry powder and some fresh thyme, and you want to just mix that up. As you can see, it's nearly cooked because the oil is starting to settle on the top. And yes, my darlings, in the meantime, you want to go ahead and wash 1.5 cups of rice and have that on standby because we're going to add it in. So once my rice has been added, go ahead and mix it in the pepper sauce. And yes, darling, at this point, if you have any chicken stock, if you have any beef stock, whatever, you can add it in there, but I don't have any, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add in 2 cups of water. And I know it doesn't look like much, but you just want to make sure you have enough water to cover the rice. I'll admit I should have added just a little bit more, but make sure to check down below for all of the ingredient list of the exact quantities of everything that I used. And then you want to just go ahead and cover that up on low heat for about 10 minutes because we're going to come back and stir it. For the veg, we're going to be using some tender stem broccoli and some carrots. I love this broccoli. I like the other one too, but I find it gets a bit soft really quick, so I prefer this one. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the ends like this. And we're also going to do the same for the carrots as well. The veg is very simple. I always try to incorporate some veg in our dinners anytime I cook. And yes, darlings, this is pretty much how I do it. So now that my broccoli and carrots are all prepped, I like to go in with some white vinegar and put some on there. Then I'm going to rinse that out with some cold water, okay? This is my own little preference just to clean it thoroughly. And once it's all rinsed out, I like to season with some all-purpose seasoning. I like to go in with some basil and some butter, no liquid, and let that steam on low for about 5 minutes. This is how I get the perfect veg every single time. At this point, it's been about 10 minutes or so, and I'm just going to check on my rice. I'm going to go ahead and mix it up because that is really important in getting that rice to cook, okay? Don't let it steam and leave it. You have to mix it up so that, you know, the rice can cook evenly everywhere. Once it's fully mixed in, I like to cover with some foil as well on the top, which allows the rice to steam beautifully. But in the meantime, let's check on our chicken. It's been cooking for about 30 minutes and it's halfway cooked. I like to baste it with the gravy, but also you can also use that gravy from the chicken and add it into the jollof rice because it will give it such a nice flavor, okay? So that's an extra little tip. It's been about 5 minutes and my veg is cooked, guys. It's looking so fresh. As you guys know, I love my veg with a bit of crunch, so I don't want it to be soggy. All the butter has melted at the bottom, and then I'm just gonna cover it up so the remaining steam can just soften it just a bit more. But after 5 minutes, turn that off, okay? onto our rice again. We're just gonna check it. The rice is nearly done, but I can tell that it still has a couple grains that it's still a bit hard. So I'm gonna cover it with some aluminum foil and let it steam for another 10 minutes, and for sure it will be ready then. After 10 minutes, the rice is completely cooked, and guys, it smells so good. Making jollof rice is definitely a labor of love. I will say this honestly, but it's really delicious, and the reward is definitely worth it. So yeah, look at how grainy and delicious, guys. It's so tasty, and you can't go wrong really. But yeah, I put my chicken back into cook for about 20 minutes so that it could get some color, and this is how it came out. So a total cook time of 45 to 50 minutes, and my chicken is looking so good. I did garnish it with some parsley, of course, and this is dinner ready in an hour. So we have the jollof rice, the steamed veg, the baked chicken, and I'm gonna go ahead and plate that up so you can see. But yes, this is another dinner inspiration. If you'd like to sponsor my next meal, go ahead and send me an email at TERRI-ANN'S@icloud.com. But thank you so much for watching, and it's been a pleasure having you here in my kitchen. Bye. Let's cook with me from start to finish. Oh my darlings, it's so nice to have you back here in my kitchen for yet another amazing recipe. We're jumping straight into it. So I have some kidney beans that I soaked overnight, and then I went in with a pot and I just added my kidney beans in there. I did drain off the water that it was soaking, and I went back in with about 6 cups of water, and then I'm also gonna go ahead and add in some fresh thyme and some garlic cloves and just let it boil for about an hour and a bit until it's nice and soft. Okay, so soak it overnight. That just quickens the cook process. Okay, over here I've got some beef and some pigtails. I've already washed it, but first I want to go ahead and just boil it with no seasonings, and we're gonna go ahead and drain off that gunk. Okay, because as you guys can see here, listen, you have to drain that off. Okay, you don't want this in your stew peas at all. Okay, so boil it for about 15 minutes, drain it off, and then we're gonna go ahead and add it into our pot with our beans so that it can cook together. So once my beans and my meat had been cooking together for the past half an hour, I did go ahead and make some dumplings. Jamaicans call it spinners, but I'm from St. Lucia. We call it dumplings, okay? So I'm gonna make a little bit. I'm just gonna add a little sprinkle of salt to about half a cup of flour. Mix it in with your spatula, and then you just want to go ahead and knead it into a dough. I'm gonna roll it out, and then I'm gonna let it rest, okay? So this is how I do mine. Sometimes you can just let the dough rest and then roll it out when it's done. But I just wanted to get this over and done with, so I did roll it out. The one thing that I will say is when you roll it out and you let it rest, do not put it on top of each other because it will stick, okay? Or if you want to do that, you could always just add a little sprinkle of flour on it to prevent sticking, okay? So leave it on the side to rest, and we are going to jump into something else. For veg today, we have some sweet corn, and I've got this British sweet corn here I got from Aldi. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut off the ends and then cut it into 3 so I could fit it into my pot. Gonna wash it and boil it with a little bit of salt and some butter as well as some basil. And yes, my darlings, this is how I make my sweet corn. Some people like to add some sugar in theirs, but I find these are actually okay. And you want to let it boil for about maybe 10 to 15 minutes. It doesn't take that long to cook at all. And yes, darlings, so put it into your pot, rinse it off first, add some water, add a little pinch of salt, and add in some butter, basil, or whatever spice that you like, and let it boil for about 15 minutes. So here I've got my pak choy, and this is my choice of veg today. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it into 3 pieces. And yes, darlings, this is a very simple veg recipe. I personally don't like to do too much to my veg, and wanted to show you the importance of actually washing your veg, because a lot of people don't believe in washing stuff. Sometimes you get the pack that says washed already and things like that, and people just think, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and use it. But man, never ever fall for that hype. Okay, so go ahead and just cut off the stalk of all of your pak choy, and then we're gonna cut it into 3. The one thing I probably would have done differently the next time around is probably wash the leaves before I cut it up. But hey, you live and you learn, hey? So after I've cut it up and I'm about to transfer it into my bowl to wash, guys, look at what one of the leaves had underneath. It looks like some eggs of some sort of, maybe a bug or something, I don't know. But don't mind seeing these things in my food, because it lets me know that not too many pesticides and things like that were used. So I'm gonna go in with my distilled vinegar, give it a good wash under running water, and inspect the leaves thoroughly before adding it into a pan. Add some all-purpose seasoning, add a little bit of black pepper and some butter, and you just want to steam on low for 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes, and this will be ready. So over here I've got my jasmine rice, and I'm gonna add about 1.5 cups of jasmine rice, and I'm gonna go in with about 2 cups of water. But first let's wash it off, and then I'll add my water, and then I'm just gonna add in a little bit of salt. I'll also add in a little drop of oil. It's something I love to add to my rice. You can add in some herbs. I add some thyme, and I let that steam on low for about 15 minutes covered. By then my pak choy is ready, and as you can see, it took about 5 minutes. Very quick to make, so you don't have to worry too much about that. So you can go ahead and turn that off. And then my corn is also ready, guys. All of these things cook so quickly. Okay, so yeah, my corn is ready. I did stir it up, give it another minute or so, and I turned it off straight away. And then my rice, on the other hand, is steaming away beautifully. Just leave the heat down on low. You can stir it up if you want, maybe once, because you don't want it to get mushy. Yeah, we're gonna go back onto the stew peas. So by then my peas is already cooked, and I'm just gonna go ahead and add in my seasoning. So make sure to check down below for all the seasonings that I use. Okay, but yes, make sure the peas is cooked before you go in and start adding in all of your seasoning. All right, so for seasonings, I'll start by adding in a little bit of salt. I'll also go in with a little bit of all-purpose seasoning, some curry powder. My green seasoning was also running out, so I decided to take some of the sauce from the pan and rinse out the bottle. Okay, because nothing is going to waste. Okay, so if you have green seasoning in abundance, put about 2 to 3 tablespoons. Mine was running low, and I don't have to let nothing waste. Put some water, put whatever in there, and shake that thing up. Okay, rinse it out, and then you can put it in the sink. Okay, darlings. So I also had some frozen coconut milk, because I made a dish a couple days ago that required some coconut milk, and the can was halfway done. So I thought, what, I don't want to put it into the fridge and then it pretty much goes to waste. So instead of putting it into the fridge and it goes to waste, I actually froze it into an ice cube tray, and that way it does not waste. Oh yeah, add a scotch bonnet pepper. So I'm also gonna add in my coconut milk frozen cubes, but if you have the can, just add about half a can in there. Okay, let that cook down on low for about 15 minutes before going in with your dumplings. And yes, my darlings, add that in, cover it up, and pretty much you will be done. Once I added in my dumplings, oh my goodness, I did put some fresh black pepper on top, and I'm gonna go ahead and stir that up for the last time because it is ready. Guys, taste and adjust. The meat was nice and tender. I did check the beef to see if it was soft, and it was soft. Guys, this was ready in no time at all. And this is the type of dinners I love to make during the week. Really quick, really easy. Make sure your scotch bonnet pepper stays intact because if it bursts, you know that pot is gonna be spicy. I like to remove the thyme stalks as well because you know we no longer need it. And as you can see, my beef is nice and tender. Oh my gosh, this takes me to the end of my cook with me. Guys, everything was cooked to perfection. The stew piece is ready, the corn, the veg, the rice. Such a simple dish, ready in about an hour and a half, and you know you can't go wrong. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in my next one. To my channel, let's cook with me from start to finish. Hello my darlings, it's so nice to have you back here in my kitchen for yet another amazing recipe. Over here I've got my turkey, and oh my goodness, we're gonna season it straight away. So add some oil, salt, some black pepper, paprika, all-purpose seasoning, and some curry powder as well. And then you want to give that a good mix. You can let it marinate overnight, but hey, don't have much time. It's Sunday, it's 4 o'clock, and I'm trying to put some dinner on the table. So once everything is nicely mixed in, set it to one side because we're going to caramelize some sugar in the pot. But if you don't have any sugar or you don't know how to do it because you think this recipe is too hard, go ahead and add in some browning in there. But hey, you don't have to, okay? In a pot, I went in with some oil and some brown sugar, and I'm gonna let that caramelize on a medium to high heat. Once it gets foamy like this, not too dark and not too light, I'm gonna go ahead and add in my turkey pieces, which will allow it to coat in that beautiful caramel browning. And yes, darlings, this is how you get authentic stew anything when you're cooking Caribbean food, okay? So add the turkey pieces in there, cover it up. You want to let it spring up some juices before you go in and add any liquid. And yes, my darlings, this is how it's looking. It's already looking good. After about 3 minutes covered, I did stir it up, and oh my goodness, guys, look at that coloring on that turkey. And now I'm going to go in with some frozen green seasoning cubes. Don't have any fresh green seasoning, so I love to freeze mine in an ice cube tray, and I'm just going to pop it on the top there like this, cover it up, and in about a minute it's going to soften up, which will allow me to mix it into that beautiful meat. Okay guys, as you can see, the coloring is coming in beautifully, mixing that green seasoning in there. And yes, my loves, this is already looking so good. So at this point, I also like to go in with my ketchup. I like to add in all my little things in there early o'clock because I want to let this cook down on low for a good hour and a half. Okay, so as you can see, this piece is looking so tasty. It's not even cooked yet, guys. This is not even cooked. So for my ketchup, I noticed that my boys already finished it, but in true Caribbean mom fashion, I'm gonna go ahead and shake a little water in there, and I'm gonna pour that into my pot because nothing goes to waste. I'm also gonna add some water in the bowl that I seasoned the turkey in, add 1 scotch bonnet pepper and some thyme, and I'm gonna let that cook down on low heat covered for about an hour to an hour 20 minutes. You can always just check it because it's been cooking so far for about 15-20 minutes, so it will probably just need about an hour more. Okay, so over here I've got my pot and I added in some water and some salt, and I'm gonna cook my macaroni for about 10 minutes because that's what the packet says. Once it's cooked, we're gonna drain it off, and then we're gonna make a beautiful cheese sauce. So I drained off my pasta in a colander, and in a pot I went in with some salted butter, add about a tablespoon or two if you want to. And I'm also going to go in with some plain flour, about a tablespoon of plain flour. Make sure you always have more butter to flour, okay? So go ahead and whisk that in to form a nice roux, and I'm going to gently and gradually stir in some whole milk. And yes, darlings, this is how I get my cheese sauce, okay? So stir that in gradually. As it thickens, add some more till everything is in, and then we are gonna go ahead and season it up. Now I know some people say, you know, you're not supposed to season mac and cheese, and I don't know where they hear this blasphemy from, you know, but I like to go in with some good seasonings in mind, starting with some salt, a little bit of freshly cracked black pepper. Also add 1 green seasoning cube in there and a little curry for a little flavor. Then we're gonna whisk that in. For cheese today, I've got some mozzarella and some cheddar, using 2 cheeses today, and I'm gonna add about 3/4 of this, leaving just a little bit for the top of the mac and cheese. Okay, so I actually had more cheese, but I didn't want to put too much, so I just thought that would be enough. This is about a cup or 2 of cheese. I'd say about a cup of each. Okay, a cup of mozzarella, a cup of cheddar, and you want to mix that in. As you can see, it's coming along beautifully. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add in my drained pasta, give it a good mix, add more cheese if you want to, taste and adjust it. I did find it was missing a little seasoning, so I added some all-purpose seasoning in there, which brought it together beautifully. And we are gonna go ahead and pour that into the baking dish. Once my mac and cheese had been poured into the dish and I topped it with some more cheese and some freshly chopped parsley, I'm going to cover it up and I'm going to pop it into bake for about 20 minutes covered and about 10 minutes uncovered. Okay, so 20 minutes covered, and the last 10 minutes you just want to let it get some color on the top. Okay, darlings, this is how I do it. I also bake it at 200 degrees Celsius, and 20 minutes with the foil on and 10 minutes without. So on to the next thing. You know, we're not wasting time. My turkey has been cooking for a good 40 minutes now, so I know, yes, we're nearly done. I'm gonna add some jasmine rice to a pan, give it a good rinse until the water runs clear, and then I'm gonna add in my water in there as well. Add in some salt, of course, add in some mixed vegetables that's already defrosted, add in a little sazon for some color and some flavor, and then we're gonna go ahead and cook that up. Now this will take about 15 to 20 minutes to cook, and yeah, don't forget your oil. Okay, so put it to cook, mix it up, make sure that everything is fully combined, put the lid on, and after about 10 minutes I'm gonna steam it with a little foil on the top so that it can finish cooking, because you don't want to drown the rice. Okay, and yes, it's been about an hour and a bit and my turkey is looking good. I'm gonna skim off some of that excess oil on the side because nobody want no oily meat. I find that the turkey drops a lot of oil, just like oxtail. I don't know why, but I don't like too much oil in my food. Okay, so I'm gonna skim all of that off, well, as much of it off as possible. We're gonna go ahead and remove the scotch bonnet and the thyme because they've already given its purpose. It's already served its purpose. And yes, darlings, garnish with some parsley, and you can go ahead and turn that off because the gravy is nice and thick. I love it. The mac and cheese is also ready. Look at that beautiful color. We had a total cook time of 30 minutes. Yes, darlings, this is looking so good. Garnish with parsley as well. And then I'm gonna go ahead and check on my rice. It's been about 10 minutes and my rice just needs another couple minutes with the foil on the top and it will be ready. But yes, my darlings, this is how I make Sunday dinner in about an hour and a half. You don't have to be in the kitchen too long. Cooking is not hard, I promise you, and I'm sure you can do it. So yes, I'm gonna fluff up my rice with the fork. I did find it needed another minute or two, so I'll cover it up again. So total cook time for the rice is about 15 minutes. Okay, so make sure you let it come to a boil, cover it with some foil, let it steam down low, and this is how you get perfect rice every single time. And don't forget the ratio to rice is always 1 cup to 1.5 cups liquid. Okay, don't forget that. So this takes me to the end of the cook session. Very simple. Make sure to check down below for all of my ingredients that I used and the measurements, and this is how I do it. I'm gonna plate it up to show you how amazing it came out. But it's been such a pleasure having you here in my kitchen, of course, and I cannot wait to see you in my next one. Thank you so much for watching. Let's cook with me from start to finish. Hey darlings, it's so nice to have you back here in my kitchen for yet another amazing cook with me. Today we're making a whole chicken. Today we're making some good stuff. Got my chicken I got from the butcher. I only buy my chicken from the butcher nowadays because I think it's so much better quality than if you buy it from the store. And yes, darlings, we're gonna go ahead and clean it up now. I'm gonna be using this method today called spatchcock, and it's pretty much where you cut open the backbone and lay the chicken flat. I find it helps the chicken to cook more evenly and it cooks quicker too. So this is what we're doing. So I did go ahead and locate the backbone, and I'm gonna use my kitchen shears just to cut that off. Okay, usually I cut it off completely, but my hubby loves the backbone, so I'm just gonna cut on the side of one and I'm just gonna cut that chicken open. Okay, so very simple to do. Make sure you're using some sharp kitchen shears to do this. So once it was opened up, I'm using my knife just to clean off all of those extra dark bits in the chicken that I don't want, and also all of the loose pieces of fat and skin. Go ahead and clean it up to your own preference, of course, but this is how I like to do mine. I just go around moving any extra feathers and just really give that chicken some attention before we go ahead and cook it. Okay, one thing about me, none of my chickens I cook died in vain, because I will literally show it so much love. Okay, so once the chicken is fully cleaned to my preference, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in a bowl of cold water, some lemon juice and vinegar, and give it a good rinse down. This is how you do it. So after giving the chicken a good rinse down, I still let it soak for at least 10 to 15 minutes. The longer the better, and it's nice and fresh and it smells good too. And yes, darlings, to season, I'm gonna go in with some oil. I'll also go in with some salt. I'll go in with some of my all-purpose seasoning, as well as some mixed herbs, which is a mixture of marjoram, thyme, basil, parsley, all that good stuff. I'll add paprika for color and a little bit of celery powder. You don't have to add that, but it's just a nice little flavor it adds to the chicken. And you want to massage that in. Make sure to get it underneath, make sure to get it on the top. Once you rub it in all the way, all that seasoning should be covering the chicken fully. Once it's seasoned to my preference, it's looking amazing. I didn't have much time today to let it rest, so I'll only give it about 10 minutes. I preheated my oven to 180 degrees Celsius, and then I've placed it on this baking dish in this oven tray. And I'm gonna put some pieces of butter on the top like this, as well as some halves of some garlic. And this is just gonna help give it some extra flavor, because as the chicken bakes, it's gonna release some juices, which I will use to baste it with. So all that butter and garlic and flavor is just gonna be in the juices. Okay, so pop it into bake for about 30 minutes uncovered, and then we're going to start working on that mashed potatoes. Now my kids are obsessed with mashed potatoes. I think I make it about 3 to 4 times a week because my boys love it so much. They could eat it on its own. They love it with chicken, they love it with salmon, they love it with everything, but especially my roast chicken. So I've got about 5 medium potatoes. I'm using my peeler. I'm just going to go ahead and peel it, then I'm going to go ahead and wash it off, chop it into pieces, and then put it to boil. The process is so self-explanatory, but you guys love when I talk you through it. Okay, so at this point I'm just peeling the potatoes, ready to chop it up and put it to boil. So now that my potatoes have been nicely washed, I added it to a pan with some water and some salt. Let it cook for about 20 minutes, okay, until it's nice and soft. And this is pretty much how we do it, okay? So while the potatoes are cooking and the chicken is baking, I'm gonna go ahead onto my veg. And yes, darlings, this is how I like to do it. Whatever takes the longest first, you know I will do it first, okay? For veg today, we've got some bell peppers, some baby corn, some asparagus, and some carrots. Gonna go ahead and chop, peel, prep everything. The mistake I made was I should have actually had a separate bowl on the side to, you know, peel it and chop it and everything, but I'm so used to just doing my stuff without having to film it. Usually I would cleaning the stuff over the bin and then just putting it into the bowl, but because I'm doing it on camera, sometimes I just try to incorporate everything in there. But in reality, I'd usually just clean everything over the bin because I've got this small bin on my kitchen countertop, and I usually just clean everything in there over the bin, and that way I don't actually have to put it in the same bowl. Okay, so you don't have to do this. This was just me trying to show you guys on camera what I was doing because you want to see everything. Okay, so open up everything, clean it, peel it, prep it, and then we're gonna wash it up and place it into a pot. Once all my veg was chopped up and prepped, and I did give it a good wash with some cold water and vinegar, I've gone ahead and added it to a pan. We're not going to be adding any liquid. I'm just going to add in a little bit of all-purpose seasoning. I'll add in some butter. I'm also going to add in some mixed herbs. Okay, these are the three things I always put in my veg to steam it, and I always get perfect veg every time. I love Spice Jamaica seasonings. Like, it's literally the best, and honestly, if you're in the US, you can get it so easy, so affordable as well. And this is the mixed herbs. This is what it has in there. You can take a screenshot because some of you always ask me what's in there, and this is literally the best combination. Butter, mixed herbs, all-purpose seasoning for your veg. Whew, 10 out of 10, you can't go wrong. But even though I have prepped my veg, I won't be cooking it until the last 5 minutes, so I don't want it to be soft or anything like that. So I like to just leave it prepped up on the side, and then in the last 10 minutes or 5 minutes, I'll put it to steam for about 5 minutes. Okay. So at this point, it's been about 30 minutes. My chicken is looking amazing. As you can see, it's released some of these beautiful juices, so I'm gonna use this big spoon here and just scoop those juices back on. Usually I use a baster, but sometimes you guys don't have some of these fancy gadgets, and I just want to let you know you can make it, you can do it with everyday ingredients. You don't need to go buy no fancy equipment to cook any of my dishes. Just use a spoon and scoop up the gravy onto the chicken. That will allow it to remain nice and moist and juicy and prevent it from drying out. Okay. So once my chicken went back in the oven for the remaining half an hour, in a pot I went in with a little water and some salt, and I'm going to be making some chow mein. My hubby is not a fan of mashed potatoes, so I try to make something else whenever I make it. So either I'll make some rice or chow mein or pasta or just something else so that he just doesn't have the mashed potatoes on its own. Okay, so here the potatoes are cooking beautifully. The veg, I've actually just put it to steam because we don't have that much time to go. And yes, leave that veg on 5 minutes, low heat, covered, and as you can see, the butter is melting in there. Gorgeous. Yes, darling. So after about 20 minutes or so, my potatoes were cooked, so I did drain it off. And guys, am I the only one? I love to clean my stove as I go along. I cannot stand cooking on a dirty stove, even if it means a couple of burn marks for my hands. Okay, I just love to wipe down everything and have it looking clean as I go along. Okay, once the potatoes are drained, I'm gonna go ahead and use this masher. Give it a good rough mash first, and then add in some butter, add in some of your double cream, and yes, my darlings, this is how I make it. I usually just mix it up nice and smooth, and listen, you cannot go wrong with this mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes were all done. I put some butter on the top and just let it melt. And yes, my darlings, in a pan that I was cooking the chow mein, I actually went ahead and I put some oil and some green seasoning, and I'm just gonna let that fry down for a minute or two. This was some frozen green seasoning cubes. I put in the microwave for about 30 seconds, and then I'm gonna go in with some of my all-purpose seasoning. I'll go in with some of my mixed herbs too and some paprika for color, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and mix that up before tossing in my cooked chow mein in there. And this is how to get some flavorful chow mein. You don't have to make it over the top. Sometimes a little bit of seasonings goes such a long way, and this is how I love to make mine. Really nice seasoned chow mein. 10 out of 10. Now that my chow mein is done, as you can see, it's looking beautiful. Still cleaning up here, and my chicken is also done. It's been about an hour. Look at those beautiful juices at the bottom. This is what I will be pouring onto the mashed potatoes for the kids. And guys, the color on here is so pretty. I'm gonna garnish with some freshly chopped parsley as well, because honestly, once the parsley comes out, you know we are done. But this is pretty much it. all done. Special video clip for the chicken because it looks so good. But this is everything fully prepared. We've got our mashed potatoes, we've got our seasoned chow mein, our gorgeous roast chicken, and we've also got our veg in the back looking all colorful and pretty. And yes, my darlings, it's gonna be time to plate this up. Honestly, you just can't go wrong with TERRI-ANN'S cooking. You cannot go wrong. So yes, my darlings, I'm plating it up now, and I just want to let you know, thank you so much for supporting me in the last few videos. And I also forgot to mention, I did drain off all of the juices into a small bowl. That is what I'm going to top on the food for my kids because they love the mashed potatoes with the gravy. And yeah, this is the finished plate all done. Oh my goodness, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in my next one.